What is up, guys? It's been a little bit since I did anything with this channel whatsoever. What's a good way to sit here? Not this. All right, I think that's a little bit better. So for those of you who remember, this is a channel about death metal vocals, screaming vocals, harsh vocals, whatever you want to call it. We're not super serious, which is fun. Now you're probably saying, who is this guy with the Muppet haircut that's on my screen right now? My name's Kyle. I do vocals for a band called Seeds of Malice. I will link our information down below if you're interested in checking it out. Go ahead. There's also some covers on my channel that I've done, so if you would like to validate my credentials for this, please feel free to check it out. But I've done a number of tutorials, got some good feedback from you guys, got some questions from people, and I think that this is something we can do that is useful. So the aim of this video is that it's going to be a series to take you from complete beginner to more advanced techniques as we learn like different styles of metal vocals, different techniques to use, more advanced, things, whatever, you get it. But the idea for this video is that you're a complete beginner, basically. So this is, you've never done anything resembling screaming before. These are going to be some tips and tricks. We're not going to get directly into screaming today. But I'm thinking maybe we do one of these like once a week or every other week. And hopefully, we can kind of get into a flow and practice and things like that. Okay, so like I said, today we're going to build just the basic fundamentals of the scream. We'll get into that in the next video. I do have some previous tutorials if you want to check it out. Let me know what you think. And again, if you're more advanced, this video may not be for you. But I've got some other stuff you can check out, and also feel free to check in on this series in a couple of weeks, months, or years whenever I get around to doing the next one. But first thing we're going to learn is the breathing, because that is really the most important part of it. Your air is essentially going to be it's like your gas tank, right? So if every time you're delivering, you're going all the way to empty, there's going to be a lot of fluctuation, and it's going to be a lot more difficult for you than it needs to be. Step number one is going to be to relax. And that's a difficult thing because when we're doing any type of death metal, deathcore, whatever you want to call it, screaming, the tendency is to tense up, right? Because you're gonna, oh, you got this, you're gonna kill it, and you are, but you don't want to hold tension in your body, and as best you can. Reason for that is when we hold tension in our body, the tendency is we breathe into our chest, right? So the breath is kind of like, you're not getting like a full breath, and frankly, it's not using your diaphragm properly. You don't want to breathe into your chest. So the way I will describe this to you is if you imagine your arms are at your side, right? When you breathe in, you want to feel your rib cage almost like it's pushing your arms out. It's not going to like actually move them, but that's kind of what you want to envision. That's how you know that the breath is going to the right place. Then you want to make sure that you're able to control it on your exhale. So when I breathe in and I get there and I fill up the tank, for lack of a better term, it sounds completely ridiculous, and then you're going to exhale it, just exhale it through your teeth, like just, and hold it out as long as you can, or as long as you feel comfortable. The more that you're able to control your breath and the longer that you're able to hold that air, the more sustained you're going to be able to be. It's going to be easier for you to do faster parts, which is one of the harder things to do. It's just going to make your life easier, so do it. The second thing, do not do inhales. No. I know that can be a little bit of a touchy subject, but I'm not saying that there aren't people who can pull off inhales and have it sound good. It's more dangerous. Doesn't mean that you can't learn to do it properly, but it is more dangerous. And this is something that you can do damage pretty easily, so I don't want the risk. It's harder to make it sound good. Again, there are people who pull it off and it sounds pretty rad. If you're one of them, that's awesome for you. But more often than not, that's not the case. And finally, it's going to limit your range a lot. You're not going to be able to do those cool, transitions as easily. You're not going to be able to go low to high as easily. High inhales, I don't know that I've heard anybody pull those off quite. Just don't do it. Okay, but if you can do it and it sounds good and you don't hurt yourself, but for purposes of this, we're not doing it. The last like beginner tip before I give you guys like some homework from this video, or just like one thing to master, and I want to do this like in really specific steps, because I found that when you try to learn everything all at once, it can be super frustrating. So we're just going to learn like one quick thing. But the final tip that I want to give you is, when you're getting started, get out of your head that you're going to sound like anybody, your favorite vocalist, whoever it is, right? So for me, like, that was a really hard thing to figure out. Like, I wanted to sound like Travis Ryan really bad when I got started. Like, I was like, man, this is going to be cool. Well, everybody's vocal mechanics and like the mechanics of their throat and their delivery and everything is going to be a little bit different. So you're going to have your own unique sound, and you're going to be capable of sounding really brutal and really awesome, but it's got to work for you. And so you want to work within the range that's comfortable for you. For example, for me, my high screams come very natural to me. I can go there all day. My low screams, not as much. I can get there, but it just requires a little bit more work. So you're going to have to learn, and there's no other way to do this other than trial and error, essentially. But what works for you, what doesn't, what sounds good for you, what doesn't. So again, that's not going to be the same for every vocalist, but that uniqueness is going to be what makes you individually awesome. So just keep that in mind. We're not going to try and sound like any specific people. There are certain techniques that people use that we can implement, but it's not going to be the exact same sound. So just important to remember. All right. So now for the homework assignment, and that seems, it's not a homework assignment, but just the thing to master, right? And that's going to be where the sound comes from. And I desperately need water. All right. Where the sound comes from. So in some of my previous videos, we touched on this, but again, we're starting from the basics here, so we're going to touch on it again. This is going to be where you want to pitch the scream once we start to do it. And in the previous videos, I used the example of the grudge sound, that kind of like that you feel. If you want to do like a, can't do that, but like the, is it Chewbacca? Yeah, it's Chewbacca. Sorry, guys, I'm not a Star Wars dude. But that's going to be where we want to, ultimately, once we start applying that breath to our voice, where we want the scream to come from. And the reason that this is important is because it's not here. You'll notice when you make that grudge sound that you're going to feel a little vibration here, but you're not going to tense here. And that takes back to the very beginning, where it's, hey, we're not gonna build tension in our body, because it's frankly gonna make it more difficult. So just that and again, I've shown this before, but if you really want to know that you're doing it correctly, you'll be able to transition from that and right into a scream without having to stop. So it'll be I got neighbors, so it's gonna be a short scream today. But yes, that sound, the sound placement, that's all we want to master right now. That's step one. So if you're just starting out, get that down, and we'll see you guys again in like a week with how to apply that sound to your voice with a little bit of power, with that air that we're storing in the gas tank or the diaphragm here, so that we can start to sound brutal. So I hope you guys like this. If there's things you want to see more of, let me know, or if there's certain things you want me to focus on, also let me know, and we'll do our best to touch on it. And see you next time. Also, check out my band, whatever. Later, guys. Conscious of our disregard for